Have you ever lain awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling and building an empire inside your mind? You see yourself succeeding. You see yourself disciplined. You see yourself living a life so remarkable that everyone who once underestimated you is forced to look up. Inside your imagination, everything is clear. You know exactly who you are supposed to become. But then the same old story repeats itself. You wake up at noon the next day, already exhausted. You reach for your phone, promise yourself it will only be 5 minutes, and somehow spend the next 4 hours scrolling through meaningless short form videos. All the while, one question is tearing you apart from the inside. Why am I like this? I know I have potential. I know I'm ambitious. I know I'm capable of more than this. So you give yourself a label that makes the shame slightly easier to carry. I'm ambitious, but lazy. It sounds honest. It even sounds self aware. But psychology reveals a far more unsettling possibility. You may not be lazy in the way you think you are. You may be trapped inside an exquisitely designed biological cage, one built to protect you from the very life you claim to want. This video is not an attack. It is a decoding of the civil war taking place inside your mind. And stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will not only understand why your feet feel nailed to the ground, you will know the first physical step required to move again. Because until you understand what is holding you still, you will remain a spectator, watching your own life pass by from the sidelines. Part 1. Ambitious but lazy. The sweetest lie in the world. Let us be completely honest. The phrase, "I'm ambitious but lazy," is often nothing more than a placeholder. It is an identity you use to claim a future you have not yet earned. By calling yourself ambitious, you send a comforting message to your ego. I am still special. I still possess extraordinary potential. I could become great whenever I finally decide to begin. In psychology, this resembles a strategy known as self-handicapping. You create an explanation for your lack of results before your abilities can ever be properly tested. Why would your mind do this? Because as long as you never begin, your dream can remain perfect. An essay that is never written can never receive a bad grade. A business that is never launched can never fail. A book that remains inside your head can never be criticized. A body transformation that always begins next Monday can never prove how difficult change actually is. Your imagined future remains untouched by reality. You may secretly fear that if you truly gave everything you had, if you fully committed yourself, and the result turned out to be merely average, the fantasy of your hidden genius would collapse. The world would finally know, and worse, you would know. This is why apparent laziness is not always a lack of energy. Very often, it is a problem of emotional regulation. When you face a meaningful goal, your nervous system does not only see opportunity, it may also see judgment, uncertainty, rejection, and the possibility of discovering that you are not as exceptional as you hoped. Your brain begins searching for relief, and relief arrives in familiar forms. One more video, one more snack, one more hour of research, one more day of waiting, one more promise that tomorrow will be different. The distraction temporarily removes the anxiety, so your brain learns something dangerous. Avoiding the task makes the pain disappear, and every time you repeat that cycle, avoidance becomes easier. You are not simply refusing to work. You may be trembling before the possibility that your best effort will not be enough. Part 2. The Curse of the Gifted Child and the Provisional Life. To understand why you keep repeating this pattern, you may need to look backward. Many paralyzed dreamers were once considered gifted children. Perhaps you learned quickly without much effort. Perhaps adults constantly praised your intelligence, creativity, or unlimited potential. Perhaps you became used to being the person who could succeed without trying very hard. But that praise may have quietly built an identity around effortless results rather than persistent effort. You learned that being special meant understanding things quickly. You learned that struggling meant you might not be gifted after all. Then adulthood arrived, and adulthood demanded repetition. It demanded patience, rejection, embarrassment, discipline, and years of unglamorous labor. Suddenly, natural ability was no longer enough. You had to become a beginner. You had to ask stupid questions. You had to produce bad work. You had to practice while other people watched, and somewhere inside you, this felt humiliating. You were supposed to be gifted. Why should someone gifted have to struggle like everyone else? This is where many people begin living what Carl Jung described as a provisional life. A provisional life is a life treated as though it has not truly begun yet. You work an ordinary office job, but tell yourself it is only a temporary stop while you wait for your real life to arrive. You live in a messy room but refuse to organize it because you believe you will become disciplined once you move into your real home. You delay taking care of your body because your true transformation will begin in some future chapter. You refuse to commit to the present because commitment would make the present real. So you treat today as a waiting room. And this is the deadly trap. You become a spectator sitting in the stands, watching your own life unfold without you. You watch supposedly ordinary people take action. They make mistakes. They fail publicly. They embarrass themselves, but then they learn, improve, and slowly move forward. Meanwhile, your ego whispers, they are trapped in the rat race. They are wasting their lives. I am waiting for a more meaningful path. But the bitter truth is that you may not be waiting because you are free. You may be using the fantasy of freedom as a shield against the humiliation of real-world failure. The spectator never loses, but the spectator never wins either. Part 3. The dopamine paradox and productive procrastination. Have you ever wondered why you can spend hours planning your future in Notion, watching productivity videos, designing perfect routines, and organizing elaborate systems, yet never execute the work? It may be because your brain has learned to enjoy the anticipation of change more than change itself. Dopamine is strongly connected to anticipation. When you imagine future success in vivid detail, the money, recognition, transformed body, freedom, and applause, your brain gives you a small emotional reward in advance. For a moment, you feel as though you have already achieved something. The fantasy creates the feeling of progress without requiring the cost of progress. You receive the emotional reward before completing the work, and once your brain has been rewarded, the urgency to act disappears. Some people fall even deeper into what is often described as maladaptive daydreaming. The world inside their minds becomes more vivid, meaningful, and exciting than reality. Inside the fantasy, they are powerful. Outside it, they face bills, rejection, boring routines, awkward first attempts, and tiny steps that seem painfully insignificant. The imagined world becomes addictive because it offers greatness without friction. But there is another trap that looks far more respectable. It is called productive procrastination. You read one book after another, you enroll in courses, you watch tutorials, you download templates, you build dashboards, you research every possible strategy, you tell yourself that you are preparing. And because all these activities look productive, you never have to admit that they may simply be sophisticated forms of avoidance. You confuse collecting information with executing. You confuse understanding with transformation. You confuse preparation with participation. Perhaps you are afraid that once you stop learning and begin doing, you will discover that you are not as talented as you imagined. So information becomes an anesthetic. It numbs the fear while delaying your collision with reality. And here is the most uncomfortable part. This video can become another form of productive procrastination too. You can listen to every word. You can feel completely understood. You can save the video, write down 3 quotes, leave an intelligent comment, and then return to exactly the same life. Feeling seen is not the same as changing. Understanding the cage is not the same as leaving it. Insight creates relief, but only action creates evidence. So the next section is not another collection of ideas, it is a sequence. Part 4. The framework for waking up. How do you break the curse of the dreamer and finally step into reality? You do not need another burst of inspiration. You need an execution structure. Step 1. Find the courage to be ordinary. This may be the most painful step. You must remove the mask of the undiscovered genius and accept that you are an ordinary person beginning from zero. Not because you are worthless, but because every meaningful life is built through ordinary actions repeated long enough. Clean your room without turning it into a personal development ceremony. Pay your bills on time. Answer the email you have been avoiding. Complete an ordinary assignment properly. Wash the dishes. Organize your desk. Keep one small promise to yourself. These actions may not feel heroic, but they bring your mind down from the clouds and return it to the ground. A real life is not built from dramatic intentions. It is built from completed responsibilities. Step 2. Reverse map the dream. The dream inside your head is usually too large, too vague and too emotionally loaded. Build a successful business. Transform my life. Become disciplined. Write a book. Your nervous system cannot act on a fantasy that has no visible first step. So stop staring at the final destination. Work backward. Ask yourself, what would need to be true 1 month before the goal? What would need to be true 1 week before that? What would need to happen today? If you want to write a book, today's mission is not write a book. It may be opening a document and writing one ugly paragraph. If you want to start a business, today's mission may be sending one message to one potential customer. If you want to transform your body, today's mission may simply be putting on your training clothes and walking outside. Your life does not change when the entire path becomes clear. It changes when the next physical action becomes undeniable. Step 3. Protect one golden hour. Stop waiting for extra time to appear. It will not. Your empty hours will be consumed by notifications, requests, entertainment, and other people's priorities. Choose one fixed block of time and protect it. It does not need to be a perfect hour. It can be 40 minutes, it can be 20, but it must have a beginning, an ending, and one clearly defined purpose. During that time, remove the phone. Close unnecessary tabs. Do not research a better method. Do not redesign the system. Do the work. The goal of the golden hour is to eliminate the exhausting daily negotiation. Should I do it now? Do I feel ready? Would tomorrow be better? At the chosen time, the decision has already been made. You simply enter the room and begin. Step 4. Build a minimum loop. Do not try to run a marathon when you have not learned to put on your shoes consistently. Break the task down until it feels almost ridiculous. Instead of writing a chapter, write one sentence. Instead of completing a workout, do 5 push-ups. Instead of cleaning your apartment, clear one surface. Instead of studying for 2 hours, study for 2 minutes. This is your minimum loop, the smallest version of the habit that still counts. Its purpose is not to create impressive results in one day. Its purpose is to preserve your identity on the days when motivation disappears. Because the most dangerous day is not the day you do very little. It is the day you do nothing and quietly decide that the streak is over. A 2-minute action keeps the door open, and once you begin, continuing often becomes easier than starting was. Step 5. Prepare for the boss fight. Most plans are designed for your best day. That is why they collapse. You need a plan for the day when you are tired, disappointed, distracted, or ashamed. The day you miss your alarm, the day your work is rejected, the day you break the streak, the day the old version of you returns and says, "See, you never really changed." That day is the boss fight. Decide in advance what you will do when it arrives. Maybe your normal session is 60 minutes, but your boss fight version is 2. Maybe you cannot complete the entire workout, but you can put on your shoes and walk for 5 minutes. Maybe you missed the morning, but your safety valve allows you to restart before midnight. The rule is simple. Never turn one bad day into a new identity. You are allowed to slip. You are not allowed to use the slip as evidence that you are hopeless. The part where knowing must become doing. I built the 14-day discipline game for one reason. I kept seeing intelligent people who understood exactly what was wrong with them, but still had no structure for what to do the next morning. It is not another motivational book to collect, highlight, and abandon. It turns this process into 14 daily missions. First clearing the fog, then building a repeatable loop, and finally creating a system that can survive your worst day. The link is below if you need that structure, but do not open it simply because this video made you emotional. Open it only if you are willing to begin day 1 today, and if you are not ready for that, do not buy anything. Take one action from this video for free, because purchasing another solution without using it would only become another form of productive procrastination. The final difference. The difference between the successful version of you inside your imagination and the version sitting here right now is not necessarily talent. It is not intelligence. It may not even be potential. It is the willingness to act while feeling painfully ordinary. A sword that waits for perfect conditions will never leave its sheath. A ship that remains forever in the harbor will never discover the ocean. Do not allow your potential to remain trapped inside the phrase, "I almost did it." Do not wait until the end of your life to discover that the heaviest burden your children inherit is the unlived life of their parents. You are not what you say you will do. You are what you repeatedly do. If you recognize yourself in this story, that recognition matters. It means you now have enough awareness to begin changing, but awareness is only half the battle. Stop watching videos about transformation and begin becoming the transformation. When this video ends, do not immediately open another video. Put the phone down, close the browser, stand up, then perform one physical action that moves you toward the life you keep imagining. Write one sentence, clean one corner, send one email, open one file, make one call. Do something that exists outside your imagination, even if it takes only 2 minutes. Even if nobody sees it, even if it feels embarrassingly small, because that small action is more real than every empire you have ever built at 3 in the morning. It is time to stop living a provisional life. It is time to stop rehearsing a future that never arrives. It is time to begin writing a real story of your own. Subscribe if you want to continue exploring the hidden forces that shape the human mind, and share your story in the comments, not the person you plan to become someday. Tell us the one action you are taking today. Sometimes, an honest admission becomes the first piece of evidence that your life has finally begun. Thank you for listening. And remember, your future does not live inside your dreams. It lives inside what you choose to do right now.